It feels really weird to have such a small pile of manga and manhwa next to me. I mean, usually I feel like we have a large stack and I'm struggling to hold, but that doesn't seem to be the case today. Hello friends! Happy Friday and November 1st! It feels a little bit weird to be filming this video early, but because usually when I edit these videos it does take a little bit longer, so I'm like, hopefully I don't read anything before October ends, even though there was like a lot of things that I wanted to read, because I only read roughly 18 different volumes of manga or manhwa. It's just really weird. Like, not only has this been my smallest month of reading this year, this is also the smallest amount of manga I've bought this year, and I'm like, this is weird. I know October was a really stressful month though, and reading, I was just struggling. And then I dropped some really big things at the end of September, and I was really nervous to come back to reading there for a little bit. I knew that I wasn't like out of love with manga or anything, but I was really doubting my own like love, not love of manga, but the things that I love reading, I should say. So I do have a pretty good month of reading, I feel. There was some things I dropped, and I will talk about a few of those things because one of them was really odd for me. But talking about digital first, Magical Girl Dandelion, I've read chapters 1 through 4. I've talked a lot about it this month already, honestly, but I did want to pinpoint the video I filmed. It was a Top 5 Wednesday video saying you need to stop everything and read this manga right now. And yes, you need to go read it on the Viz Media app. It's free to read and it is just so very wonderful. I have loved it, loved it, loved it. Not gonna gush about it because I know I've done it elsewhere in other videos, but just know it's really good and you need to go read it. The next digital thing that I read was The Dragon King's Bride. I think I read chapters 1 through 71 or 1 through 72. This was completely unplanned. This was not on my TBR. This was not even on my radar, honestly. And I remember seeing ads for this on Webtoons a long time ago, and I was like, no, this is not my cup of tea. And yeah, I read it when I was sick, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite things I read this month. It was just so wonderful to have this, like, there's action, and there's a little bit of politics, and there's drama, but really the main couple, I love them so incredibly much. The open communication is just everything. And honestly, what's his name? Hawken? I think that's how you say his name. I loved him. He is this, I feel like, how do I describe him? He reminds me of like where he's a big guy. He seems scary. He seems intimidating. Yes, he can't actually be those things. He can back it up. But he is so soft when it comes to the female lead and how much he loves her and how much he cares for her, how he's willing to do anything for her. Seeing their romance bloom and grow throughout this series was one of the most beautiful things I've read in manhwa recently, where there's just no backstabbing and there's no betrayal and there's no, granted, we have some of the best villainesses I have seen in like genuine villainess that they are the bad guy. So well written, so well done. It's been really nice to read a very compelling female villain, or villainess, excuse me. I feel like I just have not read a story like that in a while. I'm so angry at them. Like the last chapter that I read, I was irate. I was like, girl, you need to get away from Lucinia. Like, get away from her. And I really love the setting. I feel like a lot of manhwa that I typically read has a Western-based setting. And maybe I talked about this in a different video, I don't know. But which I don't typically mind, but I really love how the setting is just different and refreshing. And we have these very beautiful clothes. I'm trying to think of what country it reminded me of, but it's beautiful. And I have loved every single moment. And I found out the other day there's only like 100 chapters and it's complete, and I was just like, no, it's not physically licensed, and I don't know if it ever will be, because when I was looking at the numbers compared to like other series that we've got physically, I'm like, I don't know if we'll ever get it, but man, I wish we did, because I have just loved this so much. And I stayed up late reading even though I was sick and I should have gone to bed, but I just could not stop. No good stopping places. So I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a very sweet manhwa that has, again, those politics, some drama, but not overwhelmingly so, and you really want to see a couple really grow, communicate well, because in the beginning she stutters, and more often than not, she just won't say anything because she has been abused by her family, and so it's really impacted her in how she just cannot communicate well, and she feels like people don't want to hear her communicate in general as it is. That was a huge thing for our couple here, and seeing her work with her servant to be able to convey her feelings, because she realized because because she was not communicating well, because she would get caught up in her emotions and shut down, that there were misunderstandings happening. And she worked to address this and fix this and change this. And yes, sometimes she still has a hard time conveying herself, but it is so different than what it was in the beginning. And I just loved every single moment. And our man here has been there for her and supported her from day one. And I loved them. I loved them both. It was an amazing read, and I definitely will be keeping up with the latest chapters because it's just been phenomenal. Now, as we go into the physical stuff I read, my other favorite read, honestly, before I read The Dragon King's Bride, it was volume 4 of Dark Moon, The Blood Altar. It's funny because I've read volumes 1 through 3, really enjoyed it, but I was just like, do I love it enough to keep going? Because these are pricey volumes, and I'm just like, I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna get it because when I was at the bookstore, my kids had 2 different birthday parties, I think last month, and there was no manga that I wanted. So I was like, this is what they had, and I went to a variety of stores to find it finally and got it. So good. So good. Easily one of the best things I've read this month, and it was just so engaging. It was that backstory, y'all. That backstory, whew, it was full of action. It was dark. It was definitely violent, but and a little bit of hint of romance up in there, but the way everything came together. Honestly, this is a series that you have to trust the process. You got to trust that the creator, or how the story's flowing, that it's all going to make sense, because there's times where we got these like info dumps and I'm like, why are we having this? But everything led to this moment in volume 4, and it was everything. I am fully on board. I mean, not saying I wasn't before, but I did have that little thought in the back of my mind of like, do I want to keep going? Am I going to drop this? No, I am not. So definitely one of my favorite things this month. Super enjoyed it a lot. It was good, y'all. It was good. Everything that's coming out has just been like, my jaw dropped. I read it 2 or 3 times. Really, really loved it. Cannot wait for volume 5. The first manga that I read of this month, that was physical, I should say, was volume 10 of a condition called Love, and this wrecked me. Oh my gosh. I cried. I was sad, but it was so good. I'm unsure of fully what to say without going into spoilers, but you need to brace your heart, because I didn't brace mine. I knew that things would get emotional based off how volume 9 ended, but I never expected poor Hotaru to have her heart really gutted in a way and just so emotional. And I loved how through everything that she's feeling, that she wanted to find answers and she gets them, and the ending was so impactful and so emotional as well. I need volume 11 ASAP. Continuing to deeply, deeply love this series and seeing our leads grow, seeing Hotaru use her words, seeing Hanoni unhinged. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute since we've seen that. And so it was different there, and I was a little bit freaked out for somebody interacting with him. And so I'm really thankful that Hotaru used her words, and I fully believe these two are going to be okay. But this was a really big, significant thing, and I'm glad that they are addressing it. I'm glad that they didn't do other things, and I just hope that everything's going to be okay in volume 11. Continuing to read my only shonen manga pickup, I think, that I have been committing to, and that's volume 11 of Kaiju number 8. Really enjoyed this volume. It just goes by so fast, and I'll be honest, I wanted so much more of Kafka. Did I love this? Yes. I am so thankful that Sensei, that he does woman justice. What I mean is, like, for Kikoru, I hope I said her name right, but our girl here that is just amazing. Honestly, her entire arc, her battle, was one of the most satisfying things I have read in a shonen manga in a long time. The arc that she had was so well done, and there was zero fan service, and it really shows how you can bring a female heroine, a female character, excuse me, to life without fan service in a shonen manga. I mean, I know that shoujo could have fan service as well, but I really feel like with Shonen Jump series specifically, that there often is, you can find more fan service than usual. I feel like compared to other things that I read, I should say, I know that's not true for every shonen manga or anything, not saying that, but I just feel like Sensei has done her character so much justice, and honestly, it stands out very vividly in my mind of how well done it was. I love that entire arc, aka the battle that she's having with this kaiju, and even the backstory with the kaiju that she was fighting was really compelling and moving, and I was like, I didn't expect to feel or see this way. I just wish we had more Kafka. I definitely feel like the battle with Narumi was very well done. Still have a love-hate relationship with this character, but I've just admitted that probably it will continue that way no matter how much there's times he impresses me, like with the backstory, that I'm still like, I just don't really love your character because how you treat Kafka many volumes ago. Hoshina, so incredibly cool. Best way to end the volume, even though it's like, it ended there. So definitely want to get the next volume because I really love it. So much action. action and so well drawn and just has continued to be a very fun reading experience every time. I'm not going to talk about much about this manga because I did do a manga review earlier this month, and that's Kimi Todoke Soulmate. Not going to say the whole series, and I reread volumes 1 and 2, and then I read volume 3 for the first time. Again, I have a review. I am saying that for manga that this was my favorite read of this month because it was just so timely that I read this and it made me cry. It was very emotionally moving. I never thought I could relate to Kurumi ever, period, but I definitely did. So if you're curious about more thoughts on this series and how it impacted me, definitely check out that review. One that also really impressed me was Usotoki Rhetoric Volume 9. Now, I have loved this series, but I really didn't like that it was going to be confirmed that our leads here are going in a romantic direction, and I was not on board. I was on board with the Volume 1, but then as I see their friendship kind of going, Mr. Iwai, their friendship growing, I just was not on board nearly as much, or less and less, I should say. I gave this volume 5 stars. It's probably more of a 4-star read for me personally, but because of how well done that the direction of Kaneko realizing her feelings for Mr. Iwai and her slowly making those steps was so incredibly well done. Like, I was very impressed because now I am on board. And I just feel like how strongly I felt before starting this volume, I really just didn't see my mind changing. I was afraid this would be a series I would drop after it ended. Not that I wanted that, but that is just how much I was against the romance, okay? Which sounds weird because I love romance, but I just really love their friendship. But honestly, the way things have been addressed when it comes to this slow blooming romance was, again, so well done. I was just very impressed. I'm like, wow, I was afraid this would be rushed, that it'd come out of nowhere, wouldn't like fit what was happening. None of that was true. None of that is what happened. It was everything. Though having Kaneko kidnapped was, I mean, I knew it was in the blurb, but I was not prepared for that. When she interacts with this one character, man, it tugged at my heartstrings so hard. I did get emotional when I was reading this and really just love how we see Kaneko, how she has really bloomed as a young woman, like since the beginning of volume 1 to now, how she's grown, how she's changed, and how she's just so much more confident in who she is as a person who has this ability to tell lies. It was everything. I really loved it, and it's funny because I do feel like this is probably one of my favorite volumes yet, just because of how everything came together. We're just seeing this super big contrast between her and, I am blanking on what that guy's calling himself, but the guy that used to be able to hear lies and now can't anymore, and how he has reacted to those who tell lies, how he perceives it, and how he just internalizes the whole thing compared to Kaneko, and how she has a completely different view and how she is not shut down herself. I am very interested and very sad that volume 10, the next volume, is the final volume. I definitely want to know where things go. Definitely going to be picking it up, and I'm really excited for everything that I feel like is going to be happening, but also very sad to know it is going to be the last volume because I just don't feel ready. But this was a very excellent volume. Loved every bit of it. So in hindsight, I might have felt originally it was a 4-star read, but I definitely feel because of how much I enjoyed it and how much the volume spoke to me personally, definitely a 5 stars. And hopefully the final volume will end on a strong note and I won't cry buckets that it's over. Oh man, I picked this up recently this year. I bought it from a friend on Discord, and that is Sazan and Comet Girl. Now, I had got recommendations from this from Jacob at Meet the Weave Family, as well as Margaret Reads Manga. Both of them said I would like it. Jacob especially said, yeah, you're gonna love this josei manga, and it is a josei, and not only that, it is fully colored and it is beautiful. It was such a fun read. It's a sci-fi. I feel like I talked about this earlier this month. I don't know what video though, but I feel like I did spotlight how pretty it is. But it was just it was such a rich reading experience. I was trying to say, like, it's a sci-fi. It does have a little bit of a romantic vibe to it, but it is not a romantic manga. I loved everything, honestly. I was shocked that for how thick this is, I read this in one sitting. I read it on, I think it was a Saturday afternoon before I had to go to my nephew's birthday party. It's hard to put it into words because I felt like the art was really good, but I feel like the story was just very impactful and very thought-provoking. And honestly, for it being so big, I really thought that I would get bored. And no, I never got bored. I just kept flipping pages because I was so engaged, and I really love our main guy. And sorry, I was just thinking how he really got friend-zoned like super early on, but I loved his determination and how he saw our Comet girl, as she is nicknamed, how he saw her in a different way and knew that like what the rumors say is not true about her, and how he just really went out of his way to go and try and help her and try and be a friend and try and be there for her. And this adventure he goes on in the process of trying to find her. The other space robots or not robots. There are robots, yes. But I was trying to say space pirates is what I was ultimately trying to say. I love the space pirates, and seeing the journey of the captain, like his development was like such a shocker. I never expected things in the story to change involving him, but also my personal feelings that I would really like him by the end. It was all very good. Even the villain or the bad guy, his story was so interesting, and it was just very fascinating to see his motivations and how it clashed with our main characters. Like every single moment was awesome, and the art was so good, and the vibrancy of everything. I mean, it was almost overwhelming at times to read because it was just so beautiful, and there's so much attention to small details. It was everything, y'all. It was so good, and so I'm really, really glad I picked this up. I know I did film a video earlier in the month for the 25 days of shoujo manga, and I did gush about this. That is why it feels very nostalgic, because I'm like, I know I talked about this. That is why. So you can know that there's a video coming that's featuring this and talks more about it as well. But it was really good. I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a really good sci-fi adventure set out in space, has robots, AI, spaceships, and space pirates, and you want maybe just a little bit of inkling of romance, because again, there's just a very small thread. It's on the back burner. It never takes center stage except for maybe like the briefest of moments. This is one I would highly recommend. It is so good. I'm so glad that I gave it a chance. I'm so glad that Jacob and Mark recommended it to me, because I could definitely see myself coming back to this, maybe not reading its fullness right away, but still having a blast just randomly flipping through it and absolutely loving it, because it was just that good of a time. Oh, my feel-good manga, The Ice Guy and the Cool Girl, Volume 7. I love all the developments that are happening in this series. Can't really say much because it's so thin and I don't want to give spoilers, but it was everything, and the creator continues to be true to her word. She said things were going to happen in this volume. At the end of Volume 6, she said that. They happened. They were fulfilled. It was everything. I was squealing. Really loved it. One of my favorite characters, though, I will say, is Granny. I loved her. She was great. I hope we see more of her, and definitely will be getting more volumes in the series because I just continue to thrive every time that I read it. Now, this one I had some mixed feelings on, and honestly, deep down, I still have some of those mixed feelings, and that's I'll Become a Villainess Who Goes Down in History. I'm just going to say the first title, not the other title here. So I love this as a whole. Alicia, our main girl, amazing villainess. I love her. I love how she is doing everything in her power to become, would you say, yeah, I'll become a villainess who goes down in history. Yes, I am loving what she's doing to make that a reality. The only issue I had that made me feel really uncomfortable, that so much so that I actually almost dropped it, is this prince here. I think that's the prince. He looks like the prince. But him. Now, at the beginning of the story, she is a younger girl. I think she was, we'll say like 10. Her and the prince do have an age gap. Now, if they were older, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because I'm like, whatever, that's fine. But it's very unnerving when you have this teen or preteen boy looking so intently at a 10-year-old girl, where you're just like, they're not analyzing, because like she is sword fighting, for an example, and he's staring at her, and we find out he's been doing this every single day. He's not staring at her in a way where like you're analyzing your competitor or your opponent and seeing what their weakness is. No, he's not doing that. And there was one scene that was like, no, like you're too young for this. And so it was very uncomfortable. And honestly, I had shared more about this on the Discord group that I run. I was chatting with some friends. Shout out to them. They were so helpful and so kind, where I really felt so conflicted, because again, I love Alicia. She is amazing. She is everything I love in a villainess, and I love her, seeing her thrive, where she's like, anything the heroine can do, oh, I can do 10 times better. She lives that out every single day, and so I love that. My villainous heart was thriving when it came to her, but the romance was just really uncomfortable uncomfortable, but I decided I'm going to read volume 2. I'm going to keep going. I want to see if I'll feel less uncomfortable, because where it ended was so good and it was such a cliffhanger, and I even put it aside and I was just like, I just don't know, but I couldn't bring myself to get rid of it because, again, I just loved Alicia so very much, and I actually am featuring her in another video because she's so cool, y'all. She's just so cool. So I'm hoping that things mellow out because, again, if they were older, the age gap wouldn't bother me at all. And it's not like he's necessarily crossing a line. It's just this intense staring where you know he's like keeping tabs on her, so to speak. That makes me feel like, dude, this is a little bit just uncomfortable. So I'm going to see where it goes. For right now, I mean, if you don't have a problem with anything I just shared about the age gap and them being a younger age, I would strongly and highly recommend this because I just had such a fun time and I laughed so much. I love her, and I really do hope that I will have a stronger or at least higher opinion of volume 2, and there won't be that uncomfortableness there. Again, let them be older and it'd be fine. I do wish that they were older. I think she's about 13 or 12 by the end, and I'm looking forward. I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing where this goes, and I really hope I won't be disappointed. Now, speaking of one that I was so disappointed, I actually did not finish this manga, and I don't even remember the last time that I did that with a volume. I'm one of those people that even if I'm not loving it, I really want to finish the whole thing and just say that I was able to finish it, because you never know, your thoughts, feelings may be different by the end. Like, I feel very strongly about that. I tried reading ahead and I lost more interest, and that's the Small-Animallike lady is adored by the Ice Prince. Everything about this should have been my cup of tea. Everything. Like, it screamed, Laura, this is a new potential favorite manga for you. And I read the first chapter and I just was not engaged. And I said, uh-oh, we're in trouble. If I can't even relate to the female lead, or at least find something that really draws me to her. And I felt like at the beginning, it was food. She's a small young woman and she loves to eat. And I was like, oh, I should really like that. And I couldn't do it. I said, well, let's keep reading. And then we met the male lead and I was like, I don't like him. I'm like, well, you should keep reading because you know that he's going to change. It even says in the title, she is adored by the Ice Prince. So I'm like, he's going to change, keep going. And I'm like, I have no interest. I have no interest. I got to the end. I was like, I still have no interest. And so I definitely don't think this was a bad book. I don't know why I could not connect with this. I even came back, I think 2-3 weeks later, or probably about 2 weeks later, and tried again. I was like, okay, I did like what I read the second time, but it was not enough to start from the beginning and then go for it. I just sort of chose random spots. And so I'm bummed. I'm bummed. And I think a large part of the problem for me personally is because I like Past the Monster Meet Me Lady better. And that was even before I filmed my manga news video, even before I found the anime news. I was like, this has a similar premise to Past the Monster Meet, and it does it better. I feel bad for saying that. I wish I didn't have that comparison in my brain, but I definitely feel like if you're looking for a story with a heroine who loves to eat, Past the Monster Meet Me Lady, that is the one I would recommend. Take it as you will, but I couldn't connect with this. Again, I don't think it's a bad book, and I'm really bummed that I think that just that comparison was stuck in my head and I just couldn't overcome it. For the next one, I love this series, and that is Honey Lemon Soda Volume 7, though I will confess, when I started this, I was nervous, and I didn't fully love the beginning because I was so worried that Uka was going to be in this place of questioning and wondering what are her feelings for Kai, what is Kai and hers relationship, which was a question asked at the beginning or somewhere in volume 6, and that carries over into this volume. And I was just like, girl, I want you to, it makes sense if it was drawn out. Honestly, it would, but I didn't want that at the time that I was reading this. And thankfully, that didn't happen. Love Uka. She is continuing to be brave, courageous, and she is just giving her all. And I definitely squealed at the end of this volume. Very, very much loved it. Eagerly looking forward to volume 8, seeing where things are going to go. And I think the beginning was great. I was just caught up in my feelings. That was actually one thing I said in my Goodreads review, that I want to reread it with not that worry of this is going to be long and drawn out for like 2-3 volumes. Like, no, that didn't happen. And so I want to read this through a different lens now that I know how it's going to end, because I really just love seeing Uka thrive as an individual and how she's just taking these big steps, and like, girl, you go, I'm cheering for you. So definitely another great volume. For this next one, it was another manhwa that I read, and that is Beware the Villainess Volume 1. I have a lot of mixed feelings on this, and I really don't know where I stand. I have never read a story that made me as angry as when reading this. Melissa's anger, rage influenced my own. It took me a good 30 minutes to just calm down and not be angry, because the men in this manhwa they are trash. They are garbage. And I'm just like, the prince is so Delulu. And if I thought that the prince, or excuse me, the emperor and the remarried empress was Delulu, this prince, he up there. He is up there. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I really feel like Melissa's anger, 100% valid. 100% understand, but it was hard as a reader to be, I guess, so influenced by her rage, and I get her motivations, I get what she wants to do, but I feel nervous that I'm gonna be feeling the same way, just as angry as I did when I read this, and I don't want that. I feel like we did meet another guy at the end, and I'm very curious, but the brother, I can't stand him. The prince, I can't stand him. The dad's okay, but the other two just, I don't know if I could handle them the entire series. So if you've read this, I'm not going to say does it get better. I'm not going to ask that because I think it's a good series and it is very funny. The expressions in this are hilarious, but I would love to know does Melissa mellow out where she's not quite so angry on page as she is in volume 1? Please let me know because it's not a series I want to drop because I really do like Melissa a lot, and I love how she is just like fighting back against these guys. She can put up with their crap. I'm like, where you go? But I'm just worried of how that emotional response that I had, I've never experienced that before. So please, again, let me know because I'm just going to put on the side for right now. Think on it. When I read this digitally, I had read up to chapter 13. So there was only one chapter technically in this volume I had not read yet already. So this is like my second or third time coming back to this, though my first time reading physically. So again, let me know. This was definitely a funny story again because of those expressions, and I'll be interested hearing and hoping that people can let me know what happens next, like the spoiler-free version. Oh, I was so excited having another volume of this, and that is Mint Chocolate Volume 12. Really loved how this arc wrapped up with, I was about to say spoilers. I can't really say much about this volume, honestly, without giving spoilers, but it was so well done, and I really admire how Nanami handled things for her personally. Suzumura, how he handled things, I felt was very realistic and just really loved how everything wrapped up. I do wonder if things will come up again later in the future. I don't really know, but I would be curious to know. But with the ending and the starting of a new arc, I'm very, very excited because we're going into the school festival and I'm looking forward to that. So this was definitely another great volume. I'm sorry I can't say anything else about it, but I really feel like if I do, it would go into spoiler territory really quick and I want to avoid that. Next up is another read. Feel good, so good, right up there with the ice guy, and that is Pupposites Attract. I think I said the right thing to my friend Fire teaching me how to say it, so hopefully I actually did this time around. So cute, so fun. Really just gave me all the warm fuzzies. I loved it so much. I really love this new character right here and her dog. I love them. They're great. They're one of my favorite characters now, and oh, it was so sweet. Really love our male lead and how he's being brave, and I really think things are going to be going in a really sweet direction, and I'm 100% here for it. So if you need a feel-good dog story, this manga is it. It was just as good as volume 1. Cannot wait for volume 3. This is another read I have mixed feelings on, and it's a long title, and it is I was reincarnated as the heroine on the verge of a bad ending, and I'm determined to fall in love. So I decided to pick this up because I'm definitely team Villainess, but I wanted to see this whole heroine thing and saint thing that I feel like we're getting more of those kind of manga, and I was interested. I love this first volume. I thought it was really good, but my friend warned me because this is Julius and this is Rain. I think it's how you say her name. I love Rain. She's great. She's been reincarnated to this Otome game that she doesn't remember playing, and she is determined, as I said, to avoid the bad ending. She's going to increase her magical rank in this world and go after a love interest. Well, you have Julius here, who is the brother. We don't really know, okay, because she has amnesia at the beginning, and Julius is sort of like, oh, I'm loving because of things that happen, and so now we know Rain is reincarnated. She didn't know anything beforehand, so they're using amnesia to excuse her loss of memory of the original Rain that was here. And Julius has not told her anything of the past, just that he's her big brother, but he has pretty sure romantic feelings towards her. I don't feel he is actually related to her. And so I was okay with him. I was like, honestly, I love this volume a lot. It was a lot of fun to read. I thought Rain was this super relatable character. I loved her interactions with everybody and how she is grinding as she would in an Otome game to increase her magical rank. I loved one of the glasses love interest. He was amazing. I'm very much on his team right now. But my friend warned me that Julius is going to have a, how do I say this spoiler free? He's going to be around more often and they get closer. And so I'm nervous because I love Julius as a character, but I'm not shipping him with Reign. So I feel a little bit hesitant about volume 2, but I can say that to read volume 2, I should say. I can say I love this one. Really great time. It definitely made me think of villainesses aren't the only ones who can have a really good and fun time. And I really hope that things continue to look up for Reign because girl deserves it after everything her previous self in this game went through. And I just really hope that it continues to go upward and just everything that it works out because it was fun and I want the best for her. And for my last and final read with such a great way to end the month of reading is The Sign of Affection, Volume 10. I love this series and honestly, I feel like this series is so well done just in general, but honestly, it really shows that when we have these moments of time skips in other shoujo series where they don't show the leads moving in together and living together, this series testifies it could be really done. It could be done really well and it could be really engaging because it has been one of my favorite parts. So satisfying, loving every single moment. And honestly, not just with that moment did I love in this volume, but seeing all of our characters, seeing Shen, Emma, Oshi, all of them, and of course Yuki and Itsumi, everybody is growing, everybody is communicating, sort of, because Oshi's, he's getting there. But for overall though, you could see individually each character is growing, they're having their own steady development, and I thrived when reading this volume. Debated if this was my favorite read of the month or if it was Kimi, Todoke's Soulmate, just because I love so much in this volume, and it just felt so well written and so well done. I really feel like things are hitting the fan at the end of the volume. We know from the previous volume that Itsumi, he has been keeping a secret from Yuki. We don't know what it is, but due to some people, some things that happen, I feel like it's about to come out in the next volume. And I'm like, please, Kodansha, let's push that release date forward here and make this book come out, volume 11 come out a whole lot sooner because I need answers of what's going to go down because something's going to go down and I need to know what it is. It was so, anyway though, very good volume. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Continues to get better and better with each volume. It's just so well done and so compelling. And that, my friends, is everything that I read this month. As you can see, it was a really interesting pile of just a variety of different stories. Some I loved, some I didn't love, some I'm on the fence with, but I hope that I did share about a manga that caught your interest, that maybe you've read, that you're like, oh, I love that too, let me know. And if there's any manga that I didn't read that you read, you're like, Laura, you need to know, don't hesitate to share down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!